Today I have the opportunity to shoot a very special video. We're going to do a very special type of workplace assessment in the sense that we're going to look at John's posture when he plays guitar. Welcome, I'm Olivier Girard, ergonomist, posture therapist, author of the Posture Manual and creator of 3 online posture programs. John has sent me 2 sets of videos with 2 different guitars. So we're going to look at each one of them and at the generic posture issues or improvement possibilities. The first thing that's striking on the video with the big guitar is that John tends to lean backward a little. Plus, you see that the heels are off the ground, which is usually a sign of sitting too high. Well, what I think is that actually both are interrelated. Look, in this posture, my feet are on the ground and I can be a bit forward. Now look, if I raise my stool, this is an unstable stool, but it makes everything worse and therefore it's good for analysis. Okay, now my heels are off the ground and the stool is falling forward. Therefore, if I want to compensate, I have to be back. So what I think is that John will not need to be this much back if he sits lower with his heels on the ground. Another point to consider regarding the stool is the angle of the seat pan. You see, when the seat pan is horizontal like on John's stool, well, there's some kind of a pressure edge behind the hamstrings, and that can really become painful over time. This is why normally when the seat is too high, it has either a short and rounded seat pan or a slightly reclining seat pan like this, knowing that you should be careful that 1, you don't glide, and 2, you don't tend to hollow your back under the effect of the angle. On this sequence, we see that when John stands and plays the guitar, the small guitar, well, the mid-back drops in direction of the guitar when he looks at the strings, right? That mid-back, which goes round, will project the shoulders forward and the head forward. So when you need to go more forward, first your pelvis should go back, not the mid-back should go round, and you should refrain from looking at your fingers when you play. He was a drummer, my first patient at a distance. He was a jazz drummer in New York, and he had this tendency also to always look at the drum set. What we did is we had a training session in which I was putting faces on the wall in front of him, and he had to play whilst looking at the faces in the eyes. Now let's move to the upper extremities, and actually what we just said about the sitting height is not completely disconnected from what happens in the neck and shoulder area. Look, if I'm with my torso slightly forward, the neck is aligned to the rest of the body. If I go backwards, well, somehow, my neck natural reaction would be to do this. And as I go here to look forward, there's the 7th cervical vertebra that starts to pop out. This is a sign of forward head posture. And many guitarists also have the tendency to actually look at their fingers a lot. So this flexion of the head will be even aggravated if your torso is backwards. So my advice to all guitar players is try and not look at your left hand fingers, in particular because of the risk of compressing the scalene area here by bending down and turning left. This pain in the scalene area is a massive source of potentially invalidating pain that will radiate in your arm and create numbness, widespread numbness that can really stop you in your career. So be careful with that. Now the other region that we need to look at is the right arm, right neck and shoulder area. You see, when John plays the big guitar, the elbow is very much spread to the side, which leads to massive contraction in this area and in the shoulder joint. When he plays the small guitar, we see that the elbow comes back towards the torso, and therefore the posture is more relaxed. The comfortable region for your elbows is 0 to 20 degrees sideways and 0 to 20 degrees forward. So in this area, you should always try to have your elbows. Now the question is, how will you manage this when you have a guitar which is thicker than the space that you have between your torso and your elbow when it's spread 20 degrees only? To answer to this very critical question, there's one thing I'd like you to observe. I'd like you to observe that if the guitar is very thick, yeah, the angle of the elbow will be more if the guitar comes up there than if it comes down there. I'm a violinist, so I don't have a guitar, so let me do the demo with a stupid box. But you see, the box here helps my elbow to be more or less in a right angle. If it's higher up, immediately the elbow goes more to the side and the collarbone moves upwards. What does this mean in practice? It means that what will play a role in the strain on the right arm is the angle of the guitar with respect to this horizontal line here. You see, if the guitar is horizontal, your right arm is spread outwards, but if you tilt the guitar a little, suddenly the elbow can relax a little bit more. So whilst it's perfectly okay to have your guitar horizontal if it's a rather thin guitar, it should rather be tilted upwards if it's a bigger guitar. Now, it should not be all vertical either, because that will lead to other problems, but somehow you have to go like this, put your hands and ask someone to put the guitar in between your arms so that you, say, guide yourself with what your body feels comfortable with, and then you stick the guitar in your hands where they are comfortable. And in that respect, my advice to you, John, is the following: is look, as your guitar, the big one, will spread your elbow when it's like that, well, you better play a bit like this. But you see, as the guitar is very big, if you sit, it's gonna hit against your thighs. So I really think that once you can play the small guitar sitting, you should play the big guitar standing. And when you play standing, well, what you want with your torso is basically the same angle as when you sit. You see, I sit here, the pelvis is behind me and the torso is slightly forward. When I stand, it's exactly the same. So I stand with my pelvis back, I relax my arms, I go like this, and I ask someone to put the guitar in my hands where they are relaxed. And you see that naturally the guitar will be at an angle like that. One final word as we're moving called distally, i.e. in direction of the extremities. Well, there's a risk that the guitar, especially the big one, creates a pressure edge in that area, which is really not a great idea. I mean, due to the shape of the guitar, there are not many things that you can do from a posture perspective, because you don't want to hold your arm in the air. But I have already seen some musicians who put a very discreet piece of foam there so as to, round the edge and soften the contact, and by widening the area of pressure, well, you reduce the pressure on the tissues. That's it for the posture assessment. Well, next to dealing with posture, remember that time is also an important factor, and with posture you do your best in a given context, in that case with the shape of the guitar, which is kind of imposed on you. And if you recognize that, for example, the big guitar puts more strain on your tissues and that there's not much that you can do because your posture is as corrected as it could be, well, that just means that you need to take more breaks, more frequent breaks, and do the upper body reset in between the sessions. CF the description for the video link. If other musicians are interested in posture assessments, of course it's a pleasure to publish them. You just need to send me the videos by mail with a clear statement that you allow me to publish the pictures, GDPR. And what John has done, which is sitting, standing, and 360 degrees, is really the best way for me to assess. So thanks a lot, John.